Welcome to the Minnesota Rovers Tuesday evening presentation. Minnesota Rovers is an outdoors club based in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Our members organize trips that range from 1 hour to 2 weeks in Minnesota or further afield. Examples of our activities include hiking, biking, backpacking, skiing, snowshoeing, paddling, and rock climbing. We also organize conservation and trail clearing trips. Our members have experience and skills in many outdoor activities, so if you want to learn a new outdoor activity, we can probably help you. For more information, go to mnrovers.org. Now let's move on to this week's presentation.
Tonight, you're here to hear from Melissa Brown about hiking the Centennial Trail in South Dakota. Melissa Brown has been a member of Rovers for 20 years. With Rovers, Melissa has done backpacking, Boundary Waters trips, kayaking camping trips, bike camping trips, regular camping trips, and day trips for biking, hiking, and kayaking. Away from Rovers, she has done several rafting trips on rivers in the western U.S., including the Colorado River and the Grand Canyon, the Salmon and the Green Rivers, as well as the Yampa, the Owyhee, and the San Juan rivers. This summer, she will be doing the Rogue River in Oregon. So please join me now in welcoming Melissa Brown.
Thank you. So as the description on the website said, I've been at Custer State Park a bunch with the rover camping trip that usually happens in September, and I was on the Centennial Trail at one point, and it was really pretty, and I decided I wanted to see all of it. And I found someone, I browsed around on the web and found a woman who took people on hiking trips. So I talked to her. We were originally going to go in 2020. There were about 6 of us that were interested, and then the pandemic hit. So that went by the wayside, but we agreed to do it in 2021. So this was a trip from kind of the middle of May to the end of May. I'm showing you this book just because it's a pretty well-known book on if you want to kind of do some research on your own. The trip that I did with Stacy was a supported trip, so she provided meals and some gear. We had to bring our own day packs and tent, just your regular camping stuff, but she provided food. There were 2 trucks that hauled us around from trailhead to trailhead. But this is a book if you're interested after tonight in and I would recommend getting that to do some research. This map, which you'll see scattered throughout the pictures, is in that book. And the arrows kind of show you, we started down at Wind Cave National Park. This trail is about 126 miles long, and we hiked north to south most days, except for 2 days when we went north to south. And then this is one shot of one of the trucks that took us around. These are all our day packs. Everything else that was on the trip, Stacy had a great big huge car top carrier on the top of her car. This is my day pack in the back. And then I took this picture just because it made me laugh. 2 of the days that we were on the trail were on ATV trails. So, we were sharing it with ATVs. We did not see any bear. We did not see any fishing kingfishers. We did not see any moose. But it made me laugh. This is our group. Bart and Andrea came from California. They're friends. They hike. I think there's a hiking club in California they belong to. Max and Judy were from Kentucky and have hiked together a lot. And then there's me, and then Mary. I don't remember where she was from, but so we were the 2 individuals that came. So we all got to Rapid City in some way, shape, or form. And then Stacy got us to the Elk Mountain Campground in Wind Cave. We were there a couple nights. This is the start of the trip at the Norbeck trailhead in Wind Cave. The first day was really kind of a shakeout day for us. So here we are ready to go. And You know, I wanted to do this trail because I like forest, I like rocks, I like grasslands, I like open views, and this has all of that. So these pictures are just a snapshot of what I saw. So we were, you know, it's a combination of forest and then lots of open grasslands. It was fun to see signs sometimes showing you how much more you had to go to get to where it was you were going. In this case, it was only about 1.5 miles, and which was heartening for me. Here's the map again. So we did the first day we were from Wind Cave to Highland Creek. The next day she brought us back to Highland Creek and we hiked into Custer State Park. We spent a couple nights in Custer at 2 different campsites. This is an example of sometimes we got dropped off at trailheads. Sometimes we could leave from inside the park. So in this case, we're leaving from French Creek Horse Camp to hike further north. French Creek up towards Iron Creek Horse Camp. And we would be coming back into Custer that night to stay at Legion Lake. And Custer has got these really nice maps and graphics, you know, giving you a sense of where you are and what to expect. So here we are along the creek, and I think we crossed French Creek a couple times. And we did not hike all the way to Iron Creek Horse Camp because we did not hike 13 miles this day. I think it was about 11. And for this trip, you know, the average was about 10 miles a day. There were some days where we were 12 miles for the day. I think 3 days we did 11 and a couple days we did 10. But this kind of gave you a sense of where you were. And then what was also fun about being on this trail, besides the woods and the rocks, was just getting out in the open and getting to see fun cloud formations. And this is telling us we're not very far from Legion Lake. I think we hiked into Legion Lake that day. So it was just a reminder that you don't have that much farther to go. This is a picture the next day where we're gonna, I think this is where we're starting to go. We're gonna go into the Elk Creek, Black Elk Wilderness. And it had rained the night before, so there was it was really pretty to see water droplets on the trees. And then here's the map of Black Elk Wilderness. You know, I think the wilderness is probably most famous for Black Elk Peak that a lot of people climb up to. So there are a lot of different trails in the wilderness getting you up to the peak. The Centennial Trail kind of runs along this side. So this is the part of the wilderness that we were navigating. And this is away from grasslands. This was a steeper, more strenuous day. Not as many miles, but more strenuous. And this tree has got the number 89 carved into it. 89 is the number of the Centennial Trail. I don't know if this showed up when they were laying out the trail. It wasn't common along the trail, but it was an interesting way of seeing one of the ways they marked the trail. Centennial got created in 1989 to celebrate South Dakota's centennial anniversary. It became a national recreational trail in 1997. And then there were just, you know, you're away from grasslands and you're getting these great views and vistas and panoramas. There are a lot of trails in Black Elk Wilderness, and this was a spur trail to Mount Rushmore. We didn't take that trail, but it was, you know, it was interesting to see you could get to the memorial. This is a shot. This day, after we got out of Black Elk Wilderness, we were hiking towards Big Pine Trailhead, and then we camped not very far away at Horse Thief Lake Campground. And this is just a picture of the view from my tent at the campground. So that night here, we've hiked to Big Pine and we're over here at Horse Thief Lake. We stayed there a couple nights. For this trip, we stayed one night in Bluebell Lodge in Custer, one night at Legion Lake in Custer, I think 2 nights at Horse Thief. Then we went up to Box Elder Peak and were there a couple nights. We spent 2 nights in Hill City. And then I think 3 nights up here in Alkali Creek. So we were moving every day, but we didn't have to tear down tents and set them up every night, which was really, really nice. This is an example of they would drive us sometimes to a trailhead and with a parking lot and, you know, an official civilization. And we'd start from there. This is a picture of Sheridan Lake. There's a section of the trail that we couldn't do on this trip because they were doing highway construction around Sheridan Lake. So I think there was about 5 miles of the trail that we weren't on and didn't get to do. But this is a peek at Sheridan Lake as we're going along the trail. And then there are different homemade signs helping you get down the trail. You know, and sometimes the trail is just a narrow path in the woods and sometimes it's wider. It looks like you could drive a truck on this. So now, this is the beginning of probably a shorter day for us, maybe about half a day. This is the morning before we're going into Hill City and we're hiking in an area that's got the Bald Hills, which is pretty well known. It's a very open area in the beginning, but it's got rolling hills and grasslands. It was really pretty. And I don't think you can tell very well, but Andrea had a birthday during the trip and we had a cake and balloons for her. So she carried the balloons part of the way after her birthday. And then we leave the hills behind and get back in the woods. And then this is the end for that particular day. We got picked up. And then coming into Hill City, there's this great cloud formation. So Hill City, we were there 2 nights. And you know, it's a fun town. It's touristy, but it's also got a Black Institute Geological Museum that's fossils. It's got a railroad museum. And I think railroad museum and 1800s train and the fossil museum. And I went into the fossil museum and browsed around for a while. And the kind of fossils they had, they're either original or replicas, but you know, they were big things like dinosaurs and rhinoceros kinds of things. And I thought, man, it would be scary to have been a human back then because you were pretty small compared to all these big things lumbering around. If you've been to Hill City, you probably recognize this horse sculpture. It's been there a long time, and I've seen it every time I've been in Hill City. And there's also this is kind of an advertisement for a company called Doll's Chainsaw Art. And he's at one end of town and he's just fun to see too. This is we took the train from Hill City to Keystone the next day, just kind of for a rest day and just a different way to see the surrounding area. And then we got back on the trail. This was kind of a nice change of pace because this part of the trail is taking us past Rapid Creek Trailhead, And they've got a bathroom with real toilet paper. It was just such a nice change of pace. This is one end of the Pactola Reservoir that we hiked around and kind of contoured around a section of it that was really, really pretty to see. And then we've come out at the Deer Creek Trailhead. We've gotten picked up and we'll be taken to Box Elder Creek, where we'll be for a couple nights. And this was just trying to capture things that are not always as big as vistas and overviews. It's just pretty to see spider webs and dew in foliage. So this was a day we are on the part of the trail that allows ATVers and off-highway vehicles. There's two sections of the trail that share hiking and ATV kinds of transportation. So this was the day that we did that. And this is where the ATV people kick off. It was a wet, muddy, kind of crappy day actually, and I didn't take a lot of pictures. It was just muddy and not easy to get down. We had I think about 15 ATVs pass us, and they're very nice, you know, very thoughtful and polite. But it was just a muddy day. We also had two trail runners pass us, and one of them had a dog with him. The next day, we went, let me go back. The next day, most of the group except me got taken up to Dalton Lake and hiked south back into the campground. I chose not to do that because I was tired, my feet hurt and my knees hurt, and I was just kind of crabby. So I thought, okay, I have the right to not do this. So I wandered around I wandered around the camp that we were at. It was really pretty, and just saw some stuff on flat areas. And then this is the next day when we're going to start again on the trail. Just moss and rocks and grass. And here we are headed we're headed to Elk Creek from this way. So there's some elevation gain, and then we'll go down eventually again to Elk Creek. My notes say that we crossed Elk Creek 5 times, and there were ropes on some of the crossings, which was really nice to see. And then, you know, you get to camp and you hang out your stuff to dry, kind of what a camp looks like sometimes when you're coming in from a wet day. We are headed up, so we're at probably the northern fourth of the trail, and that's approaching that. Some of that is around Sturgis, and Sturgis has got their own trail system for probably ATVs, bikes, mountain bikes, all sorts of stuff, snowmobiles. So it's just interesting to see what kind of pretty intricate map system they have for playing around outside. This was up in a tree. There's an organization called Habitat that's based in Wyoming, and they have apparently been out here riding in this area and are just doing some really low-level marketing. This day we're hiking back into camp. So once we started to see this underpass, we knew we were, you know, getting close, not exactly close to camp, but closer to civilization again. So this is the day that we're gonna hike from Alkali Creek up into Bear Butte State Park. And this part of the trail also passes parts of Fort Meade and we're in the Fort Meade Recreation Area. The Centennial Trail goes through a national park, a couple state parks, a wilderness area, a wildlife preserve, and then this recreational area. So there's, a bunch of different kinds of terrain you're going through. And we didn't, Bart and Andrea hiked together and they were always first out of the gate. Judy and Max were usually at the end hiking together. Mary and I didn't hike together, but we kind of, played leapfrog a little bit. So, and I did get lost a couple times or misinterpreted directions. So it was nice to have somebody spell out which direction we really needed to be going when there was a choice. This is an example of one of the barracks at Fort Meade. And then probably the last 4 miles into Bear Butte is open grasslands and range for cows. So we did see cattle. They didn't seem to particularly care about us. But this was kind of our view for the last probably half day we were going towards Bear Butte. And then this is the last slide. We got to Bear Butte the second to the last day. And then the last day we came back and did kind of a half a day in the park. She dropped us off where we'd been picked up and we actually hiked into the park, into the visitor center. Some people hiked up to the top of Bear Butte. I didn't. But we spent a half day kind of browsing around the park. So I am going to stop sharing at this point. Ta-da. Thank you.
Melissa, there were a couple of messages in the chat here.
Okay.
One of them was the train ride worthwhile?
It was fun to see different terrain and not be walking it. It was fun to be in the train and see the train. It's an old train. And Keystone was just a fun town to see. It was a nice change of pace.
There are a bunch of questions coming in here, actually. What time of year did you go? And what were the average temperatures?
Oh, so I went from May 14th through the 27th. I would guess the temperatures were in the 60s and 70s. But I actually don't remember. It wasn't, I wasn't ever in t-shirts and shorts, and a lot of times I was in rain gear and a long sleeve shirt. So it wasn't hot. It wasn't hot. I would say it wasn't hot.
There are a couple questions about wildlife. Did you see any interesting wildlife or big wildlife?
And one reason, I don't remember if I said this, but one reason I wanted to go with people or find a supported trip was I didn't want to run into bison by myself. I've never been a solo backpacker. So, and you would be likely to see bison in Wind Cave and Custer and then in Bear Butte. And we did see bison in Wind Cave. I don't think we saw any in Custer. And we did see some in Bear Butte, and they actually were beginning to charge one of our hikers, and the rangers went out in a truck and picked her up. We also saw pronghorn antelope, probably in Custer and approaching and getting out of Wind Cave. But other than that, it wasn't a wildlife-filled trip. We did see bison in the beginning and the end and some pronghorn antelope.
Steve wants to know how you managed food.
Oh, the other great thing about this trip was they fed us. We didn't have to do food. I think I probably brought some of my own snacks, but they were in charge of feeding us, and she did a really nice job of accommodating everybody's diets. And I don't ever remember being hungry.
Let's see. Kathleen, it looks like, wants to know, is curious about your total mileage and did the leader hike with you?
Oh, that's a good question. So you will see different numbers on the web. I think we hiked about 126 miles. That's one length that I've seen for the trip. And Stacy, she would drop us off in the morning. Sometimes she started out with us and then turned around and went back. I think most of the time she would drop us off, and if she had to move the campsite, she would go and do that. And then she was usually hiking in from the end of whatever trail head we were heading to check on us and see how we were doing. So she was with us, not all day, not all day every day, but yeah, she was with us at some point every day.
So Ruth has a question. She's wondering, are there backcountry campsites and do people backpack this trail?
Oh my gosh, people backpack this. Tons of people backpack this. We stayed at campsites all the time, so I don't know. I don't know what kinds of camping, like if you were backpacking by yourself, you could do. What I do know is Custer State Park, I don't think will let you camp anywhere. There's not dispersed camping in Custer. There is dispersed camping in the Black Elk Wilderness. And I don't know about the Fort Meade Recreation Area and farther north of Black Elk. You'd have to do some research on that. She arranged for all our campsites, and we were at campsites that had outhouses. Sometimes they even had shower capabilities. So, it was it was a gorgeous trip. It was hard for me because my knees and my toes hurt a lot, and I learned I'm not a 10-mile-a-day person. But it was pretty cushy all in all to have somebody pick campsites for you and feed you.
Are there any other questions or comments for Melissa?
Thank you, everybody. It was fun. It was fun to revisit this. This was, 3 years ago, and it was fun to go back and pull stuff together. So thank you.
You going again this September, Melissa?
Yeah, I will be there. I don't know if I'm. Yeah. I mean, and part of me thinks it would be fun to do the trail again and do less mileage. And maybe I wouldn't be so crabby some of the days. But it's trying to figure out, Stacy did all the work for us in terms of figuring out the route and distributing the campsites for us. I don't know. And one of the things she said to us was, most people can really only get 2 weeks off at a time. So that's why she made the trip kind of a 2-week time frame. And so we did a lot of miles because of that reason. And, maybe if you did it for 3 weeks, you could do 7, 8, or 9 miles a day and not be so crabby and tired.
Great presentation, though. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good. Did she, so these are all one-way trips, so she'd drop you off and then pick you off at the end? Is that how that worked, or?
Yeah, every day. Yeah, and for the most part, we hiked south to north. 2 days we hiked north to south back into campgrounds. 2 of the days we hiked from our campground north, but yeah, mostly it was heading up. And not to say you couldn't do it heading south. I don't know why she chose south to north, but I don't know why you couldn't do it the other way.
Yeah, it looks like a really nice trip. Nice pictures.
It was really pretty. I went for the grass and the trees and the rocks, and that was gorgeous. It's really a beautiful trail.
Say, Melissa?
Yeah.
There are 2 other questions here that people thought of. One of them was the group cohesive?
Well, we all got along, but we didn't hike together. We didn't hike together. We were pretty spread out every day. but I mean, I would say everybody got along, everybody got along once we were in camp.
Even the crabby lady from Minnesota?
Yeah, even the crabby lady from Minnesota. Yeah, yeah. Once you put food in her, she does better, and she can sit down.
Then the last question here is, do you have Stacy's contact information to share?
Um, I, what I know is she is not doing that business anymore. I could probably find something on the web, but we heard from her a couple of months after the trip ended, and she was shifting what she does in life, and that it sounded like she wasn't going to be offering those kinds of trips anymore. I can try and find some. I think she's on LinkedIn. Her name is Stacy Boone, and she lives in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
Melissa, how did you find her?
I just browsed around on the web when I came home from a Custer trip, just, Centennial Trail guided hikes, Centennial Trail outfitters. And I tried to do that. I did that again in getting ready for this presentation. And I can find lots of websites and people posting their own through hiking trips, and people in around Custer and Rapid City who would provide gear for you, but I couldn't find anybody now who would take you down the trail. And I even tried Wildland Trekking. They're a company that offers a discount on our website, and they don't have anything going on in South Dakota. That's not to say they wouldn't put together a custom trip, but I just, I don't know, manifested her or something, found her dinging around on the web. And actually, I think I started that whole process in 2018. She had a really bad accident in 2019 and took that whole year off to recuperate. So, it's been a long time. Things change. So yeah, she's not doing that anymore, but I have found her dinging around on the web.
Okay, well, are there any last questions about the Centennial Trail or Custer? We have some folks on, I know, that have been to Custer a lot.
That's a beautiful place. There's a ton to do there, and it's just an amazing place.
All right, well, if not, I guess we can wrap up. Melissa, thank you so much for being our last presenter of this indoor season. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching this Minnesota Rovers presentation. If you want to see more, please click on the link to our channel or the subscribe button below. Thank you.